Lucky match, 3888.
Africa S2, alive. Chivo, soO.
You know, I keep thinking about what we're learning lately. Champion soO, I hope so. I was just about to kind of like do a 5-minute spiel that ends up with I hope soO wins this season.
That guy could be your writer.
Yeah, seriously. Spoilers, come on. So I really find we're gaining a ton of information because we've had kind of the same formats everywhere for a while now, like in the European NA scene and then in the Korean scene. And some of the data that we're getting, like for instance, the last time a Zerg won, like officially, would be like Sulky, and that was 100,000 years ago almost, right? 2013, I believe it was. So the thing is, soO has been to so many finals since then, but Zerg just hasn't been able to really bring home a GSL victory. Yeah, it's like all these things are kind of starting to, I think, congeal for everyone. Where it's like, okay, what are the races good at, right? In a very broad term, like a lot of the talk recently has been like reactive play for Zerg, so they're better in weekend tournaments, right? What did soO win? He won IM Katowice. He didn't win a long preparation event. You know, obviously all the WCS,
I really like where you're going with this. Yeah,
all the WCS events get won by Serral, and others are like Raynor won WCS winner over Serral, right? So
right.
These are some very interesting things that we're looking at. Whereas, like, you know, Protoss kind of does well in both. Terran seems to struggle in weekend events and needs the prep ones, but
Marathon
at the same time,
events.
yeah, at the same time though, Maru plays a lot of reactive games against Protoss. So, and the thing is, you got to be careful when you're thinking about these types of things, because you don't want to like trick yourself, come up with a hypothesis, and then like back it up with the facts that are there, because there's so much information right now.
Well,
right?
also causation and correlation are not always the same.
Yeah.
Thing. You can see something and then conclude, oh, okay, well, you know, like, you know, Zerg's always winning weekend tournaments, or winning, you know, more often than not weekend tournaments. But is that simply coincidence, you know, and that these players that pick this are better at just being overall the most well-rounded in the course of a few days?
Certainly Serral's the best.
Right.
So that's a really good point, right? It's just the fact that we have some really ridiculously good Zergs like Rogue and soO and Dark, and there's just no GSL champions out of those three. It's kind of interesting, right? Because you'd expect it by now. Anyways, I just wanted to kind of talk about that for a moment in that early game. Figured it was more interesting than Ninja Turtles. So
this time around, we've got Cloak coming out here now for Alive. The Banshee being made here too. The Roach Warren is on the way now for soO as well.
Yeah, and with the Armory coming up, it kind of looks like it should be a Hellbat Banshee type of push, which obviously can be really, really strong. You know, this is one of those builds that we always talk about. It's like every Terran has a Hellbat build in their back pocket that can just almost randomly beat a player much better than them. Yeah,
catching them off guard like that is handy. A lot of what people are trying to do against Zerg, since Zerg is the race that's like yeast, that's trying to grow and expand, is you try to get some kind of setup, some way to come in there and go for the legs. You know, go in there and try to slow them down as much as possible, try to cripple them. This attack's about to heat up here. We have the Banshee coming in. Cloak is just now finished. We have the Hellions. They are going to be ready to switch into Hellbats. But first, the few shots are fired here from the Banshee to try to draw some attention, draw the screen away even. 3 kills, not bad at all.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's going to continue to get more as well. Now,
Hellbat's
going to push forward, but plenty of units here, I think, to hold this off.
Yeah, he made the Hellbats before even being in the Zerg space, so they can soak a little bit more damage, which means the drones can evacuate a little bit more easily. But already there's so much here from soO.
Yeah.
soO just completely crushes this. It seems like the Banshee was actually the a unit that ended up doing more damage, but
I think he got surprised how many roaches there were, because soO didn't even micro there.
Yeah, well, he just had stuff. It's like he walked an army in and it just got overwhelmed and killed. So, not a great start here for Alive. You normally want those Hellbats to have lasted longer, that it was at least able to kill off the army, most of the drones, and then the other units that were rallied out of the hatcheries killed it off. But in this case, it was smashed easily.
So this is going to be a mech build from Alive, which we don't see that from Alive all too often. He is definitely more of a bio player than a mech player. Interesting to see. Also, I want to mention that he started armor, canceled, and went into attack. So that, it makes me wonder, right? Because probably these are hotkeys and not just a misclick. Not many people, it's like a dirty secret. Occasionally a pro gamer will click an upgrade. But it makes me wonder, because like if you're going for a Cyclone build, the armor is better because their auto attack doesn't do anything anyways. It's like a sentry attack or something. But switches that up maybe based upon what he's seen. I'm not 100% sure, but just kind of interesting.
Some more factories are going to come down as we got the powering up phase here. I don't know. I don't think there's any way that Zerg can poke in for a little bit, right? I mean, he's just going to have to kind of stay back and defend this, right? The Banshees just keep roaming, trying to get kills everywhere they can.
Absolutely.
And then you're going to be into, oh, nice snipe there. You're going to be into a pretty drawn-out game at this point in time. This is a really nice, conservative way to play mech, and the Banshees you're really able to utilize, especially when you get some speed here. They just kind of roam and do damage wherever, and it's hard for the Zerg to stamp out. Well,
this game, he's not actually getting the speed upgrade, which I'm actually a little bit surprised about. It seems like the speed upgrade, it takes a very long time to finish. But at least with like Gumiho, for instance, he's always been a big fan of that upgrade.
Yeah.
It seems like it always pays for itself.
I thought it was going to be coming eventually, but you're right. If there's no other Banshees being made, we don't see anything else. It's just these three roaming. I guess he can use that money to invest in more factories earlier, all that.
Yeah.
I just feel like if you get the Banshee speed, it's going to pay for itself with damage, you know?
It certainly has seemed that way, at least. Now, it should be pointed out that soO has started 1-1 for Zerglings and is getting a Baneling Nest and a Spire. Does he just not know that it's mech?
I think so.
Because normally
I don't think you'd want to go
melee.
Banelings against mech.
It's, yeah, like you could have some against Hellbats or something, but like
but
it's
if you're
not
against someone who's just making a bunch of tanks,
well,
staying back. It's like
melee attack early on is generally not what you want to go for. It's like okay to get some mutas and everything, but I feel like soO is not completely aware. I wasn't staring at the minimap the whole game, so I'm not 100% on that. But this really looks like he's going to be caught off guard by what the tech actually is.
The Thor drop is going to come in a minute here. These Queens and Mutalisks are going to chase away the three Banshees. But I got to say, man, soO's got really good creep on the map. But to what you were mentioning earlier with the decision to get the 1-1, I do feel like this is an odd tech choice for what he's up against.
Yeah.
Right?
Normally it just doesn't bode well. Like, mech units will do fine against Lingbane Muta. You know, the mutas themselves, it's like, oh, he has 2 Thors and Medivacs. Well, I guess those mutas aren't going to be that useful in a straight-up engagement. And I'm pretty sure that Lings and Banes are not going to get through Seachank Blasts and Hellbats.
Okay.
But we'll see. I mean, soO continuing onwards.
Now, this is because of the unusual unit comp here from soO. Alive may also be caught off guard here by what he's up against, right? And I'm wondering if maybe this is like a little bit of too soon of a push here. It seems like it's going to, at least for what Zerg's going for, it should be working out better than anything else because you have 1-1 already done. The Hellbats are in a very good position right now. We have the Corrosive Biles missing. More Banelings being made, but they're going to be shot down by the rest of these Hellbats. Does Terran actually have enough here?
Yeah, no, I don't think Terran has quite enough. I think this is going to get cleared. And I think you were kind of right that the attack might have been a little bit too quickly pulled off.
Yeah, it seemed like the attack was premature for what the Zerg was making. It's almost like these guys have been playing 2 different games that they're not really...
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
A little bit, it feels like that. Well, maybe he has just enough, but 10 Roaches on the way. Definitely, like, if he was set up a little bit better or had a few more units there, I think that this game would already be called. Have a referee go in and throw in the towel for poor soO here.
Okay, the mutas are going to come in now, and It's kind of an awkward, scrappy fight because both these guys just seem to barely have anything. Normally when you see 2 or 3 tanks and nothing else there, it means the fight's going to end, but the Zerg army is actually so small as it comes out here as well.
That one Thor has done so much work at this point. He's got to bring it home. Everything's so low. There's no sense in leaving a 1 hit point Thor here. Come on.
Ro32, what are you talking about, man? That Thor might get a few more kills off.
Yeah, we'll see.
And if it doesn't die to splash damage from his own tanks. Okay, he actually got the hatchery. Now, the bulk of the army is gone here for Zerg, and also the position this is in, it's hard to get the waypoint set up correctly.
A few more mutas being added in. Some kind of funny banelings right there.
Yeah, banelings being made to roll into tanks.
Yeah, the mutas actually could theoretically clear this out since the Thor is no longer.
Oh, the Vikings are going to fight him first.
Yeah.
No micro here from Alive.
No, he's
What
busy.
have I seen? This is just weird. It's like there's 1 Viking and 1 tank now.
Yeah, this is a strange engagement where both players are just sending their units and not doing anything with them. You can see it very much more efficient here for Alive. I'm gonna repair up that Thor.
Now, even though the Zerg survived that attack, I think the next attack here from the Terran actually might be a little bit stronger. I think he already slowed down a lot of the progress that soO had made here. Now, soO has switched into Roaches, which was probably the more appropriate unit composition to have against what he was fighting. It was weird because soO had the unit comp that he'd had to fight against basically infantry.
Yeah.
You know, with mutas and banelings and zerglings. But then Alive was pushing out when he didn't have enough supply to be comfortable as mech against that unit composition. So that fight looked funny for a reason. It was one side had the wrong stuff and the other side was attacking at the wrong time against said stuff.
You know, it is kind of a weird opening, and we're a little bit reset, but I definitely look at Alive as being at a pretty big advantage right now. He's got 4 mining bases against the 4 of soO. Good upgrades. You know, just continuing forward with this macro, and has a much bigger army than his opponent, who's mostly Roach. So that means doubly much. It's like he has more supply as mech against Roach.
Yeah, kind of crazy.
Okay, Swarm Hosts on the way for soO.
Now we have to have some pretty tricky play here with these Swarm Hosts. This is going to do a lot of damage. Again, Thor drops just something to try to slow things down over on soO's side of the map. I do want to point out that soO literally has half the map covered in creep.
Yeah, that's quite a bit.
We can draw a diagonal line through the map, and that is all soO's. And I think soO's probably going to continue to stretch out with that creep. Which means his Swarm Hosts are going to be very scary. They can move very easily and traffic themselves to ideal locations and try to keep Alive pinned here.
Alive is actually going into battle cruisers, it looks like. I mean, it could technically be Liberators, but we've seen a lot of BCs lately, so I got him on the mind. I wonder, like, soO is getting a lot of supply, but again, it's like Roach for the most part, and then, you know, the Swarm Hosts. I feel like he's got to get so many volleys off and not get attacked for so long. And I just can't see Alive not attacking him soon. Like, Alive is maxed out now.
Yeah, I don't know if there's enough Swarm Hosts, even at 16.
No,
this is...
and there's Thors and Vikings to help knock them down ahead of time, the Locusts. And then there's a bunch of Hellbats, which will just kind of absorb them.
I feel like what soO might experience is what we have in a lot of those movies where the aliens come in and show up, and then the humans come out with their initial line of defense, which is like all their carriers. And we're like, okay, the humans are going to win, and then of course they don't. The aliens have way better technology and just mow that down, and that's when the audience goes, whoa, these guys are for real. We get to have that shot of the general, his face with his jaw dropped, his army gets destroyed.
I'll destroy them, Mr. President.
Yeah, Mr. President, don't worry. He's a little bit too cocky, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
okay, there we go. See, that's it.
Everything gets cleared.
Only this time it's the humans doing it to the aliens, which is probably more in line with what would actually happen if we went into space, I would say.
This attack looks a little bit scary. He's got to wait for more of those Locusts to come out. When they do, though, this army is not really ready for that whole set of Locusts plus some ground units.
Oh, man, the drones are on the run here. Swarm Hosts have almost reloaded, but the hatchery goes down. Oh, he's actually going to just rotate.
Yeah. And that is another base gone for soO. Whereas Alive continues to expand. He's going up to his 5th base right now. He is going into Liberators, in fact. Yeah, soO not really getting a lot done. Like, he's got the Swarmos. He's definitely not dead and out of the game. But these moves aren't quite enough. Like, yeah, you see moves like this. I really like moves like this because they are technically gaining value.
Yeah.
But, like, every time Alive wants to attack, he's killing a base. And then, you know, soO will lose a bunch of units, you know, trading enough that Alive turns around and then kill 2 tanks with his Swarm host. And it's like, oh, the Alive is slowly but surely gaining more every time.
Okay, another push coming through, and I don't know. I think you make a good point that even if he holds it off, basically the hatch has been destroyed. It's a lot of rebuilding here for soO. I just don't know that there's the window for the Swarm host ever was there for long enough for it to do enough damage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. Might be right about that. Okay, some Liberators actually being set up. He is knocking down a few of the Thors.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Really smashed through that. Now, the Swarm host did get the command center, but they did not get any of the army, which is the problem. And right now, it seems like Alive is kind of doing both.
Yeah.
He comes in and...
this army is just not...
This is unusual as well as when you see a Terran hitting in 2 different locations with a mech and it's working.
Yeah.
That's not how it's supposed to look, but it's happening right here.
It's been a very different game here, and soO has been on the back foot for a long time. He launches another set of Locusts. Yeah, sure, he's going to kill these 4 tanks.
I suppose you can do this specifically against Swarm hosts because the Swarm hosts, much like Brood Lords or battle cruisers or anything else like that, they can only fight in 1 location at a time.
I think it also has a lot to do with just like how few units soO has had overall. He just keeps losing gigantic armies, and he loses at least 1 base every time.
He's about to lose all his overlords here. This is a huge amount that is just being picked off for the time being.
Kills off the Liberator there. It almost feels like he's going to hold this, but 43 drones dead, and he's at 112 of 98 supply there for a moment. So that is half of his overlords in total going down.
Well, even when you see the Zerg, okay, never mind, GG. I was going to say, even when you see the Zerg now roaming around inside of the map without anything there, it doesn't matter because his base is in shambles. And that means game 1 will be won by Alive. Let's see if soO can pull it together as we go into game 2.
You know, it was a strange game. The opening where, you know, the Hellbat push didn't actually do anything, but Alive goes into mech and soO goes into Ling upgrades and mutas, and then doesn't really have the right composition.
Yeah.
Like, even if you nail the right composition, if you start right off with Roaches, go into some Hydras, and then get up to Vipers, it's still, like, kind of a battle. But when you start off on the wrong side, and then it's like you're struggling to just have enough Roaches to not die, and then the Swarm host, like you said, the timing might not have even been there. You want to nail those at a passive timing where the Terran is still trying to max out and whatnot so that they can start grinding him down a bit. But he got it after attacks were already underway, so it was very tough to utilize those correctly.
We're going to go into game 2 now. Alive versus soO. Alive with a 1-0 lead. The winner goes on to face off against Deer in the winner's match of the GSL Group D.
Africa S2, Alive. Chivo, soO.
I think this time, whether Alive goes mech or not, that's going to be more on soO's mind. I can't remember the last time I saw Alive do a full-on mech build in TVZ or really any matchup.
It was
So I think that even that, just his image of the way he's played, and everyone knows Alive forever now, might have contributed, right, to soO not figuring out that it was mech for a while.
I think if we have a game that starts to go as far as decision making, oh, we love you guys. Thanks for coming down.
Wow, that's a lot of different cities.
know.
You searched all those cities before soO? Well, that wasn't a good idea.
The last game that we saw back there, it definitely looked as if soO had decided what Alive was going to play with, unit composition, before he ever saw it.
Yeah.
And I think that after that first fight, even though soO had switched into what he needed to make, he didn't have the right number of stuff, wasn't able to actually do anything to try to hold on. So hopefully we have a better game here. Alive, though, definitely going to be happy with that win.
Sure.
Swarm hosts are also funny because Swarm hosts, when you get them, you have to make them work, at least for a little while. If you go into Swarm hosts and they don't do anything, you are almost always going to lose the game.
Oh, yeah.
They are expensive, the supply they take up. Ideally, what you do with Swarm hosts when you get them is, first of all, the other player is a little bit surprised. And then you start to hit in specific locations, and it's the rinse and repeat over and over that begins to wear the Terran down. That and the positional play is that they're trying to scramble and get into locations to try to stop that. But your Swarm hosts are ultimately coming out and taking out key structures, oftentimes eating through infrastructure. But that time around, I mean, the Swarm hosts, the first wave was destroyed by the mech army, and even though it whittled down a decent amount, and soO eventually survived later on in the fight, it was still not enough.
We'll see if he wants to go for mech again, because obviously against like Bio or something, you're never going to see those. Just a starport coming up right now. A few extra Hellions being made. And you know that we've had so many upsets already in the tournament. Something like soO not making it out would be a gigantic one. I am Katowice champ. It's soO, for God's sake. This is like top 3 Zerg in Korea for the last 6 years or something.
The thing is, it would be in line with like what we've had so far for upsets. Like,
yeah, it would be.
Nobody who's supposed to win is winning.
So we have to sacrifice either deer or soO tonight? Is that what you're telling
exactly,
me?
yeah.
Someone must
One
be
of them's got to go
sacrificed.
down, man.
Gosh.
I actually thought soO was going to win this 2-0, so the fact that Alive won the first game is pretty cool.
Yeah. Roachhorn on the way. It's like a Hellion drop, speeding off towards the Zerg base.
We have stim being made here, so Alive, his unit composition trajectory is going to be quite the opposite of what it was in game 1.
Another boost here. I like how he leads with the Reaper to check where everything is so that these can dodge overlords until the last second. Okay, well, he checks that and then flies right through its vision.
Yeah, you were right, though. He did send that up there with that intention, but
yeah, because it was leading it the whole way, and that's something that you specifically do to try to not let it be seen. Okay, anyways, drops off the Hellions. Some hot micro there, but the Hellions get very, very red.
Now, that drop basically could not have been worse there for the Terran. Zerg completely held that. If you get those Zerglings underneath the medevac, there's no way to unload fast enough to win a fight or to get anything in good position. So he killed off some of the Lings. I think he did what he could have with that. But yeah, that drop, especially when you consider that it was led by the Reaper to spot 4 Overlords, so there was the element of surprise. Kind of weird to see him at the last second just fly into the Overlord anyways.
Yeah. A couple of eBays going down, so Alive really kind of announcing what he's doing here. This is a big macro play. He'll be on 3 bases going for 2-2. soO, on the other hand, no Evos yet. Really, you want to start those Evos by the time the eBays are finishing, and hopefully sooner than that.
Yeah, he's getting a lot more drones.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to build his economy. I think he realizes that he's not really under any threat right now, but the upgrades are of the utmost importance.
Yeah, if you neglect that, you're just going to lose fights no matter how smart you are, no matter how good your angles are. Damage is just too high coming out there. All right, we've got this Liberator. This is, I guess, sort of kind of doing something.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, I guess if you put that over there and the Lings don't move, you will kill 3 of them.
Yeah. It's funny, he's putting the work in with this Liberator, but...
So far, this Liberator has a long ways to go before it's paid for itself. And now we're seeing a micro skirmish, which is not the most exciting one I've seen in Starcraft 2.
Yeah, a little bit of Hellion harassment. I guess he doesn't really find too much value in these right now. Maybe that buys some time for the Liberator to do something else as well. Still scouting to see if there's going to be a 4th base. Not as of yet. And the evolution chamber's just finished, but look at this. He's starting 1-1 as 1-1 is over halfway done for Alive. So that is what you would call late upgrades. That makes it a lot harder. When Alive hits his pushes, there's going to be a huge amount of time where he's up 2 upgrades. And especially against something like Mutaling, it's so important. The damage output, the reduced damage that you're taking from the Lings, more and more it's looking like soO is going to have to rely on either outmaneuvering his opponent or hitting him with Banelings.
Yeah, unit comp-wise, soO's going to get to make what he wanted to fight against in the last game.
Yeah.
We've got a drop coming through here now, rotating into the right side. He's going to have to be careful, though. There's mutas coming out right now, and if Alive is clumsy with this medevac, these medevacs already coming across the map, this is like exactly what you'd want to have Terran do to you. Now, we already saw him fly the last medevac past Overlords. It's going to happen again here now. He's going to go into the main. And looks like that Liberator clearing those Lings down finally paid off Artosis.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Very weird. Let's see if this does anything, really.
I'm actually confused by the overall timing of this attack here. I don't know why you would try to drop this here now and expect that you would be able to stay there and do that damage. That was just very strange.
That was very strange.
I know
the
that
siege tanks are what really, like, if it's just Marines, I'm like, yeah, do some Marine harassment, cool.
No,
but when you drop the 2 siege tanks and siege them, like, I mean, I don't know, it was weird, though. It was weird, I concur.
That was just totally odd. He has less siege tanks now, which is going to be problematic because Banelings are going to be a threat. The Ling Muta overall is strong. The thing about when you go Ling Muta, and this is not a new technique, it's been around in Starcraft 2 for a while, but you basically have an army that can actually directly fight what the Terran has, which is a big difference from a lot of other moments where you're fighting a Terran. So the fact that he just threw some of that away, you know, medevacs and tanks especially, Marines are kind of like the Zerglings of Terran. It's okay to lose them as long as you try to micro them well. But medevacs and tanks, you really don't want to.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of tradable moments.
It seems like since he added the second factory, and it looks like he's getting a reactor on it and getting drilling claws, I think he's just going to go like Marine Marauder medevac mines, the 4M. Which, I mean, against this unit composition is completely fine, especially when you're going to be up 2 upgrades here at 2-2.
We'll have to see if soO can react and start to adjust his composition to address the new one that Alive is going to be bringing in here.
Quite a few mutas roaming around the map right now. The creep spread's starting to get really good. But eventually this push from Alive will be coming. Look at that, he's already got his 4th base set up. Throwing down some turrets to stop the counterattacks. I really like that along with the planetary. Of course, Ling Bane rolling in there is something that could do a lot of harassment damage.
Okay. We still have the creep tumors getting gunned down. Terran is trying to just keep this under control. Remember that soO had a lot of that held off. He really had a really good creep spread just overall in the last game. That was the one thing he had going for him. The fact that he's got a more decent unit composition this time around, I think we're going to have a better fight overall here for soO. He might actually be able to take this one. It's going to depend a lot on the decision-making from Alive. I'm still scratching my head about that drop in the main.
Yeah, it was weird.
And what was weird about it as well is it wasn't like it was a push across the map and then he realized he wasn't going to be able to get in there or he lost a fight somewhere and so then he picked up and dropped it. He actually picked that stuff up inside of his side of the map and then moved across all the way.
Feels like time clearing creep or something would have been better spent, but...
Yeah.
Yeah. For some reason he thought it was going to do something. Just didn't. So, Alive, by the way, and part of it is due to that attack that he did, that drop that he did. He wasn't maxed when he hit 2-2. He was actually at a very similar spot where he's at right now, about 185. So he could have had a max 2-2 army and hit a push, but instead he's just sitting here and making more command centers, which I find a little bit interesting because I've never thought of Alive as a really fantastic supreme late game player, but he's not pushing any of the advantage that he had. Like, I guess it's hard to tell how much longer you're going to have 2-2 than your opponent is, especially when you're a little bit slow starting the second one. Maybe that's part of it. But right now, the way that Alive is playing, I feel like this is good for soO.
I agree.
thing is, I don't even think of soO as a supreme late game Zerg. I think of him as like a late mid game, early late game, where it's like, yeah, his macro is flowing, but he's not like, he doesn't move around Broodlord Infestor like a Serral or a,
no. In fact,
a Rogue or something like that, or even a Dark.
Okay, so we have the counterattack hitting down here, and I don't know that there's enough to defend. Actually, for sure there's not. In fact, the Banelings are going to go on top of the Planetary. This is going to kill this off. And Terran was forced to turn around here, so... Ooh! Oh my god, great Baneling connections there. The Mutas go ahead and leave, and with that many Mutas live, what he's going to do is make a lot more Zerglings, remake the Banelings and everything else, and then he's going to probably attack in here again. And I feel like we're seeing live get garbage compacted here, Artosis. The creep is almost completely surrounding the Terran.
Yeah, he's definitely not dead. He has a lot of supply, a lot of income. Yeah, he lost that command, but he can remake it. I wonder what he's doing with this. It's like, I think he's just going to get Liberator range and go into Liberators from here, if I'm not mistaken. But with this amount of creep, like you said, soO is taking the map. He's getting all tech, right? He has 3/3 on the way with an Ultralis Cavern on the way, so that's pretty scary. How are you ever going to kill that? You're definitely going to need to get Ghosts and go into one of those types of long games.
They're going to come around again here from the bottom.
Ooh.
Ouch! Oh! That was about as good as you could ask for. Yeah. I don't know if it's going to be enough anyways, but...
Bit of a misplay there for sure.
By the way, this time around, Alive is not going to turn back home. And so instead, it's going to be a situation where the Zerg is going to try to do as much damage and take out these bases, but the Terran is going to try to go for a base trade now. This is one moment that maybe Alive can do something. The army for Alive is actually better. And the majority of the army is actually, hold on, let's see how these Banelings do. The majority of the army is actually over at Alive's base for soO. So the question is can we get the right number of hits on these Banes? Can you actually spread it up? Remember that Alive tends to struggle with splitting against Banes.
Well, soO rolls right into Marauders and a Thor with those Banelings, so no problem for Alive there. Still has quite a few units left over, but soO's macro has been going strong for quite some time. A ton more Banelings coming. Pretty decent splits overall, but it is going to get cleaned after losing 2 bases.
Wow, okay, GG. 1-1.
Yeah, I feel like Alive actually got himself into a position that could have been good for him. The drop in the main base was weird. I don't want to say that cost him, but generally speaking, when you go up to 2-2, that is always a time you want to attack, because the timing between 2-2 and 3-3, there will always be Hive Tech for Zerg. Whereas when you hit 2-2, generally there won't really be Hive Tech yet for Zerg. So it's like this very nice time to attack. A lot of times Zerg upgrades start later, so you even have an advantage in that way. He was very close to max. He had 4 bases, and I feel like he just dropped the ball. He made command centers and just sat there.
I'm curious to see if Alive is going to go for mech again here in game 3.
King's Cove, he could.
You know what I hope he doesn't do is pick up 2 tanks and then 2 medevacs full of Marines and drop them in the main, sieging up the tanks and losing that.
Oh, you mean the 730 siege tank drop timing?
That's right, the one that allows the Zerg to then take the entire map covered in creep and come out with a win. Anyways, we're going to go to game 3. It's going to be on the map King's Cove. Let's go.
게임이 시작됩니다.
Africa S2, Alive. Chivo, soO.
I've got to say, I really actually am enjoying the games today so far.
Yeah, these have been great.
There's some pretty entertaining ones, and people are making some interesting decisions within them as well. Some very good, some more questionable. But overall, it's cool. I'm really liking it. Look at this, a command center first.
Okay, I did not expect this opening.
Against a pool first.
Yeah.
What?
All right.
What? Really?
In a game of rock, paper, scissors. 2 unusual builds being used against each other. The barracks is going to be part of the wall-in down here at the entrance. The pool is moments away from finishing.
Let's see if he SCV scouts, and if so, what he does about that.
This is actually, you know, if you guys are ever get a chance to come to our studio, you can actually see the players' faces on the big screen. We got like one player on the left side, the one on the right, but to watch the reactions when they realize stuff like this has happened.
You know what?
Yeah.
This was an proxy racks play, I believe, because he only made 2 lings.
Yeah,
and went
I
right
thought
back
we were
to
going to have like a bunch of lings come out and go across the map.
Yeah, that could have been really scary because there's no way the wall would ever have been finished when he got there.
Yeah. Instead,
oh, I guess he's fine.
Yeah, instead this is going to be a normal game, and actually I like this for a live then.
Yeah, well, you couldn't get more economically ahead than going command center first against pool first and taking 0 damage. So
I actually wonder if there's been a little bit of influence here from a lot of the StarCraft 1 games that have been going on, because we've seen so much experimentation with quick command center against Zerg there. It's like an economic cheese.
Okay. Okay, so to be frank, I don't think so, and here's why.
Yeah, go ahead.
The StarCraft 2, like, I think a lot of StarCraft 2 pros don't even watch all the games of their opponents, let alone watch the StarCraft 1 games.
I think you might be right.
It's been very often times that I've seen people do things where I'm like, if you had watched the last 5 games he played in this matchup, you would know that he always does this, or you know, something like that.
But you do understand that concept that I'm talking about, right? Where we've seen this quick command center play in some of the ASL and KSL games, and the Terran just gets a steal win.
Oh yeah.
Where by the time the guy scouts it, he realizes, oh my God, I'm already so behind.
Economic cheese.
Yeah,
it's a very real thing. I mean, it's a bit of a gamble.
For sure.
But I guess Alive comes out on top this time with it. Roach Warren on the way. Zergling speed, a few extra Zerglings as well. Not sure exactly what the follow-up is for the command center first. We don't see it that often. Siege tank. Seems defensive. Yeah, look at that. A bunker's going up. So Alive's playing a pretty defensive game here.
Here comes that Reaper.
A little bit of a supply block there for a bit for Alive. That's always painful.
It's an unusual build,
That's true, actually. If you're doing your stock standard build, you'll find that supply blocks come a lot less often.
Yeah.
Things like quick command centers can be weird for that, just because they suddenly give you this boost in supply that you're not used to at that time, and then it's like you might have, when you're practicing it, it's just not as common the way your supply moves around. Oh, good catch. Third command center coming up. A couple roaches being made.
Yeah, where do you want to try to go as Zerg against Terran when they do this?
Well, I hope that for soO's sake he does not attack, because I don't think he'll actually get anything done.
Is there any value in trying to get some Ravagers and just trying to hit the tanks? I mean, there's not a lot.
Oh, he is going to flood.
Yeah, I think he is. I guess it's not Ravagers. Oh, no, it is Ravagers. Got to believe in yourself, Tasteless.
Yeah.
Because if he has 3 Ravagers out, he could just pick off the tank at a distance.
Yeah.
And then flood the entrance. And by the way, guys, this needs to work for soO. Otherwise, I don't know what he does. Okay, he knows the rush is coming out. You can see Alive.
The surface area of that bunker is really small right now as well.
Okay.
So maybe he just wins with this. I mean,
there's the Bile shot out now, hitting the tank. Oh man, he did it. And one landed Viking over there is not going to save the day. GG. soO moves on to the winner's match. And a very nice comeback.